and welcome to Spectrum News within the week. I am Rachel David White, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari transmits Finance Bill 2022 to the House. Peter Obi Plus. Taliban bans university education for Afghan girls. Details of the stories and more in a moment. First in the news, President Muhammadu Buhari within a week transmitted the Finance Bill 2022 to the House of Representatives for consideration and passage into law. In support of the 2023 budget, the President transmitted the bill in a letter which was read by the Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, during plenary on Tuesday. He said it was pursuant to the 1999 Constitution as amended. In another development, President Muhammadu Buhari within the week commended the auctioning of the 5G spectrum, which generated $547 million. The President attributed the feat to the digital economy, which had driven growth, created employment and generated revenue for the country. The President said these at the National Shared Services Center, a one-stop shop for ministries, departments and agencies to interfere with citizens, which also houses a Cyber Security Operations Center, Network Center and Call Center in Abuja on Tuesday. He said the Q2 gross domestic product reports by the National Bureau of Statistics show the extent of growth, with the ICT contributing an unprecedented 18.44% to the GDP, close to 3 times the 6.33% contribution of the oil sector in the same quarter. Elsewhere, federal government within the week promised to activate the stoppage of cash withdrawal from all public accounts with immediate effect. In place of cash withdrawals, public officers are to open domiciliary accounts in foreign and local currencies ahead of the commencement of the new policy, which follows on the heels of the new Naira withdrawal policy introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria. A statement made available to newsmen on Tuesday said the director and CEO of the Nigerian Financial Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, in Abuja. Meanwhile, federal government in the week established a fortified security data center to tackle emerging cyber threats and digital infrastructure in Nigeria. The managing director, Galaxy Backbone Limited, Mohammed Abubakar, told this to journalists after President Muhammadu Buhari commissioned their National Shared Service Center on Tuesday in Abuja. He said the agency completed the project with 99% of the country's internally generated revenue. Abubakar added that the center would protect all government digital data from cyber attacks and foster adequate data storage. Away from that, Minister of Information Lai Mohammed during the week debunked claims by opposition parties that the Buhari-led administration had no achievement under President Muhammadu Buhari to campaign with. The minister made the counter-argument in his welcome address during the 14th edition of the Presidential Scorecard Series held at the National Press Center in Abuja on Tuesday. Mohammed listed some of the achievements of the administration to include the national social investment programs to feed 10 million children a day. The now functioning Abuja-Kaduna, Lagos-Ibadan and Itakpe-Warri modern rail systems and the recent opening of a second Niger bridge. The minister insisted that the administration was spoiled for choice on which of its achievement to campaign with, as it had several. On infrastructural development, federal government within the week said 4 hydropower projects with a combined capacity to inject 110 megawatts of electricity into the national grid have been completed. It also announced that 11 other hydropower projects with a total capacity of 3,750 megawatts of electricity had been initiated, as work was ongoing at the various project sites. The Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, announced that Nigeria's hydropower potential was 12,222 megawatts, adding that Kainji, Jeba and Shiroro dams accounted for 1,930 megawatts of the figure. In the meantime, the federal government during the week considered establishing 2 disarmament, de-radicalization, rehabilitation and reintegration centers for repentant members of Boko Haram and other terrorist groups. The coordinator of the National Counter-Terrorism Center, retired Rear Admiral Yem Musa, stated this during his presentation to the House of Representatives Committee on National Security and Intelligence. Musa said the consideration was part of the capital project of the center for 2023, declaring that the center, which is less than 1 year old, was battling with a shortage of funds to achieve the purposes for which it was established. Musa pleaded with the committee to consider and approve the initial sum forwarded by the agency. In another development, Germany's Foreign Minister, Annalena Baerbock, within a week handed 20 artifacts looted in the 19th century back to Nigeria at a ceremony in the capital, Abuja. The return of this set of Benin bronzes follows a deal made earlier this year to transfer ownership of more than 1,000 of the precious objects. It could be recalled that in July, Nigeria said it was the first time an European country had entered into such agreement. Speaking in Abuja on Tuesday, Baerbock said the move was part of efforts to deal with a dark colonial history and an opportunity to right some of the wrongs of the past. Among the objects returned were some of the famous ceremonial heads, an ivory carving, as well as decorated plaque. Meanwhile, the reviewed National Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan has identified a $2.3 trillion gap and plans to ensure the country achieves 70% infrastructure stock of $150 billion annually to achieve the target. This was confirmed by the Minister of State for Finance, Budget and National Planning, Claim Agba, during a media parley in Abuja. He said the new master plan provided the roadmap for building a world-class infrastructure that would guarantee sustainable growth and development in Nigeria. In another development, the federal government within the week said it will require 4 trillion naira to drive the gas expansion plan in 10 years. A document on Nigeria's Cretaceous basins by the Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission said the sum would be needed for incremental investment. A breakdown of the 4 trillion naira showed that the plan would require about 2.7 trillion naira as an additional cost that would be incurred for the application of what it termed carbon capture and storage in refining, and about 1.9 trillion naira for gas expansion. To the legislature now, where the Senate on Tuesday confirmed the nomination of Lauretta Onochie as Special Assistant on Social Media to President Muhammadu Buhari, and 12 others as Chairman and Board members of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. It could be recalled that both the Senate and House of Representatives Committee on Niger Delta had last Thursday screened Onochie alongside 13 others for the NDDC board roles. President Buhari had written to the Senate requesting the upper chamber to confirm the appointment of the chairman and members of the Commission's board in accordance with the provisions of the NDDC Establishment Act. Still on the legislature, House of Representatives in the week resolved to constitute an ad hoc committee to investigate a whistleblower's allegation of illegal sale of 4.8 million barrels of Nigeria's Bonny Light crude in China in 2015 and the insurance status of the cargo. The committee is also to investigate all crude oil exports and sales by Nigeria from 2014 to date, with regards to quantity insurance, revenue generated, remittances into the Federation account or other accounts, as well as utilization of revenue for the period under review. In addition, the panel will investigate all proceeds recovered through the whistleblowers policy of the regime led by President Muhammadu Buhari and the level of the compliance by that policy. Meanwhile, the committee is to report back within 4 weeks for further legislative action. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives on Wednesday approved the federal government 2022 95.26 billion naira budget for its power company. This followed the adoption of the report of the House Committee on Power at plenary on Wednesday. Presenting the reports, the committee chairman, Magaji Ala personnel cost at 91.56 billion naira capital expenditure. On judicial matters, Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Justice John Soho, on Tuesday declined an application by the Department of State Services, DSS, to arrest and detain the Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele. While declining the motion ex parte filed by the applicant in the absence of the respondent, Justice Soho said the secret policy did not provide any concrete evidence to substantive its claims that Emefiele was involved in terrorism financing and economic crimes. At the proceedings, the judge noted that the name of the respondent was given simply as Godwin Emefiele without a material disclosure that he was the same person as the CBN governor. Justice Soho therefore the move by the DSS comes after the recent controversial decisions of the CBN to redesign the 200 naira, 500 and 1000 naira note as part of the measures to reduce the quantity of cash outside of its control and discourage certain criminal activities such as kidnapping for ransom. On electoral matters, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, has berated the deployment of money in elections, stressing that election is not a business venture, but rather an application to serve the people. This was as the electoral umpire boss listed the negative role that money plays in elections and electioneering. Yakubu stated these at a stakeholders summit on addressing the influence of money in the 2023 general election held in Abuja. He said money politics made the emergence of the right candidates for elective positions difficult. In a related development, the Independent National Electoral Commission has signed an agreement with members of the transport unions comprising the National Road Transport Union of Nigeria, the Nigerian Association of Road Transporters Owners, and the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria for effective logistics deployment in the 2023 general elections. Speaking in Abuja on Tuesday, the chairman of the commission, Mahmoud Yakubu, noted that INEC would need at least 100,000 vehicles, more than 4,000 boats, and gunboats for the conveyance of personnel and materials in the forthcoming general elections. The signing of the agreement is coming barely 1 month after the commission met with security chiefs and heads of the transport unions in Lagos Onochie chairman, heads of civil society organizations, and leaders of various transport unions attended the meeting in Abuja. Yakubu charged the transporters to be neutral. In Education, Minister of Sport and Youth Development Sunday Dare says there is no plan for the federal government to make the mandatory one-year NYSC program optional. He said this during the 14th edition of the President Muhammadu Buhari Administration Scorecard Series 2015 to 2023 on Tuesday in Abuja. He said the rationale behind the establishment of the scheme in 1973 was the need to promote unity in the country. Still in education, the Acting Director General, National Youth Service Corps, Christy Uba, within the week urged Corps members to be vigilant and avoid night outings during their service year. She met the call on Tuesday during the closing ceremony of the 2022 Batch C Stream 2 orientation course at the NYC Permanent Orientation Camp, Welo, in Ganjua, local government area of Bauchi State. Represented by NYC Coordinator in the state, Namdi Abubakar, Uba also advised them to avoid night parties, visit to dangerous places, free car rides, and gifts from strangers. The NYC boss encouraged Corps employers to regard Corps members as their children, accept them, make necessary provisions for their welfare and proper mentoring to enable them develop their potentials. Meanwhile, the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board, JAMB, has announced that it will commence registration for the 2023 Unified Tertiary Matriculations Examination UTME from Saturday, January 14th to Tuesday, February 14th, 2023. This was disclosed in a statement by the board's head of media and information, Fabian Benjamin, on Tuesday. He said the examination body rolled out some major dates for its activities in 2023 at the end of its management meeting held in Abuja. JAMB spokesman, however, said it does not include registration for direct entry application documents, as the direct entry registration would commence from Monday 20th February to Thursday 20th April 2023. The board also fixed Thursday 16th March 2023 for the conduct of its optional mock UTME. In another development, the Federal Road Safety Corps within the week announced the deployment of 36,224 personnel and 1,226 patrol logistics to facilitate vehicular movement during the Christmas and New Year celebrations nationwide. BRU said the FRSC had maintained a culture of organizing special patrol operations, codenamed Operation Zero Tolerance to Road Traffic Crashes, for many years. He added that the measure followed a series of activities that mark the holiday season to ensure the safety of lives and properties of road users. In politics, Doyin Okupe within a week resigned as the campaign director general of Labour Party's presidential candidate Peter Obi. In a later address to the Labour Party presidential candidate on Tuesday, Okupe said it is better not to allow his personal interests distract the campaign for Obi that of the party, hence his decision to step aside. Away from that, the Osun State Police Command within the week announced ban on street carnivals during the festive season to forestall breakdown of law and order. The command noted that it had intelligence which indicated the mission by the command spokesperson, Yemisi Opelola, obtained in Osogbo on Monday. However, warned that the police would not tolerate street carnivals under whatever guise. It also advised organizers of such events to hire halls or use gated compounds while having their celebrations. To Imo State now, where Governor Hope Uzodinma within the week presented a budget of 447.4 billion naira for 2023 to the Imo State House of Assembly for approval. The budget was tagged Budget of Wealth Expansion and was made up of 150.4 billion naira recurrent expenditure, representing 22%, and 373.5 billion naira capital expenditure, representing 78%. Uzodinma said the objective of the budget was to satisfy the desires of the people by delivering sustainable dividends of democracy to the Imo people and expanding wealth for them. He said the budget would put the well-being of the people at the center of governance through massive reconstruction of dilapidated infrastructures in urban and rural areas. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Domimano within the week, governors and the national leadership of the party. Governor Mano stated these while speaking with journalists shortly after a meeting with the governor of Benue State, Samuel Ortom, who is a member of the G5 aggrieved PDP governors. In Uyo, Governor Mano, who is also the chairman of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, said the lingering crisis in the PDP was of deep concern to stakeholders of the party. The governor noted that the meeting with his Benue State counterpart was part of efforts aimed at finding an amicable solution to the crisis. Governor Mano expressed hope that ongoing reconciliatory effort would soon yield the desired result. Also speaking, Governor of Benue State Samuel Ortom blamed the lingering crisis on what he called the arrogance of a party leadership. Governor Ortom said the aggrieved governors were still open to reconciliation and peaceful resolutions of the crisis if their demands were met. Meanwhile, Akwa Ibom might have lamented how the high rate of inflation in the country has affected their Christmas spirit and urge to celebrate. Speaking with Spectrum Television, they called on the government to implement policies that can help reduce inflation and make things easier for people to enjoy the festivities. Our correspondents complete this report.
It's a few hours to Christmas, and unlike other years, the festivity this year is being dampened by the high rate of inflation in the country. A trip to a very popular market in Akwa Ibom State, Akpanandem Market, will make one wonder if Christmas is truly around the corner. Some residents of Uyo who spoke with Spectrum Television lamented how
it's high, oh, jeez. Everything is cost in the market, I swear, very, very cost. I couldn't even buy what I wanted to buy because of the prices. I'm not prepared. Oh. Christmas is just like a normal day, sha, for me.
How will I prepare myself? Because I have no money. Me, I'll be pensioner. They didn't pay me. I don't have money. Even my wife just left now. He told me, say, one fowl now, 10,000. A fowl, where we used to buy only 2,000 in those days. But now it's 10,000, 8,000. How can we go into prepare ourselves? We just to look for God to bless us and we lay alive.
So we are not appreciating what is going on because the country is lamenting many things. More especially food items something. Imagine that this is Christmas. I have seen that there's no customer coming into the market and buy something because there's no money in the country. And the situation is not okay.
some sellers also lamented that the low patronage has affected their source of livelihood.
Most of my clients don't have money to afford my, my price, whatever. Some of them, the program they were supposed to host, they are unable to host weddings. Some people have postponed their wedding because they are unable to afford some things.
I was sleeping here because there's no sales. All these things you have seen, we just sat down there and watched. You call somebody, come and buy. Say, I have no money. So the period is too difficult. We don't know what to do again.
While some people suggest that a reduction in the price of petroleum products could ease the inflation, others believe a change in policy by the government could make a Edidion Martin reporting for Spectrum Television.
Still to come in the news, World Bank warns Naira redesign will affect the poor. SMEs. Stay with us.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Thanks for staying tuned. Moving to Africa now, where South African President Cyril Ramaphosa on Tuesday vowed to unite the deeply fissured African National Congress, ANC, and root out graft after the ruling party re-elected him as leader despite anger over a growing scandal. Ending a 5-day conference where the ANC's rift were on stark display, Ramaphosa said his first 5 years as party chief had been a difficult journey. Recall that Ramaphosa, 70, secured a second term at the helm of the ANC after a bruising race against the former health minister, Zweli Migze. He is being probed by the police and other agencies over the way he handled a burglary at his farm. Still in Africa, Tanzania within a week signed a $2.2 billion contract with a Chinese company to build the final section of a railway line aimed at linking the country's main port with its neighbors. The 2,561-kilometer line will link the Indian Ocean port of Dar es Salaam to Mwanza on Lake Victoria, with eventual spurs to Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda and Uganda. President Samia Hassan said, who witnessed the signing, said the construction of the final section of the standard gauge railway from Tabora to Kigoma in West Tanzania would be completed in 2026, 9 years after it began. Hassan said Tanzania's investment in the railway had now reached more than $10 billion, including the latest contract. Meanwhile, Ethiopia's largest bank, the Commercial Bank of Ethiopia, during the week announced that the resumption of financial operations in some towns that following the recent peace agreement, its branches in the town of Shire, Alamata and Koram had started receiving money sent from abroad and locally, as well as money on deposits. The bank said it was continuing its efforts to expand its services and gradually resume operations in all branches. On a foreign scene, Turkey within a week lashed out at Sweden's refusal to extradite a top reporter that Ankara has demanded in exchange for its ratification of Stockholm's NATO membership bid. President Tayyip Erdogan wants Sweden to return dozens of people that are suspect either of involvement in a failed 2016 coup or of membership of a banned Kurdish militia that Washington and the European Union designate as terrorists. However, the now closed today's Zaman newspaper's editor-in-chief, Bülent Kenes, was the only person Erdogan had singled out by name. Sweden's Supreme Court cited the risk of Turkey's persecution based on this person's political beliefs. Within its blocked the request, Turkish Foreign Minister of delicate talks. Meanwhile, Poland's PKN Orlen will not extend a contract for Russian oil that expires in January. The refiner said a second long-term contract would not be implemented when sanctions are introduced, confirming a report by the Polish agency PAP. The country said the only binding contract for the supply of Russian oil in 2023 cease to be implemented when the sanctions are introduced, for which they are prepared. Elsewhere, Pakistani security forces have stormed a counter-terrorism center in a remote northwestern district to free several security officials taken hostage 2 days ago by armed group. Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan (TTP), a fate of hostages inside remained unclear as the forces were still looking to clear the center and the entire compound in the Banu district of Khyber province that borders Afghanistan on Tuesday. Security personnel told reporters that the forces had retaken the center through the military or the government were yet to issue a statement. 6 security officials and several detainees were said to be inside the center. Still on the foreign scene, leaders from the Middle East and Europe within the week gathered in Jordan in a conference focused on bolstering security and stability in Iraq. The meeting included high-level officials from regional rivals, Saudi Arabia and Iran, along with leaders from France, Iraq, Turkey, Egypt, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman and the European Union. The countries said the goal was to show support for Iraq, its sovereignty, security and stability, as well as its political process, its economic and development progress, and its efforts to rebuild. Iraq's stability and security have reportedly been shaken for decades by internal and external conflict. The 2003 U.S.-led invasion led to years of intense violence and sectarian strife, including the creation of the Islamic State extremist group and the empowerment of Iran-backed political factions and militias. Meanwhile, the Taliban authorities have ordered a nationwide ban on university education for females as their hardline Islamists continue to crush Afghan women's right to education and freedom. Despite promising a softer rule when they seized power last year, the Taliban have retouched up restrictions on all aspects of women's lives, ignoring international outrage. A letter signed by the Minister for Higher Education, Nida Nadim, asked all government and private universities to immediately implement the order until further notice. The spokesman for the ministry, Zeoula Hashimi, who tweeted the letter, confirmed the order to newsmen. The ban on higher education comes less than 3 months after thousands of girls and women sat university entrance examinations across the country, with many aspiring to choose teaching and medicine as future careers. On our business news, World Bank within the week warned that the newly redesigned Naira, which went into circulation last week, may have negative effect on economic activities, especially for poor Nigerians, due to its timing and short transition period. The Washington-based bank made this known in a report to Nigeria on development update amid the mixed reactions that have been trailing the newly redesigned notes. In its report, the World Bank, however, said the new policy would negatively affect small businesses, especially those with day-to-day cash transactions. Similarly, the Lagos State Chairman of the Nigerian Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, Adebayo Adams, said the policy would hit businesses and their MSMEs. Still in business, it has emerged that the total asset of Nigeria's insurance industry stood at 2.3 trillion naira at the end of the third quarter of 2022. The National Insurance Commission announced this in a report on the Statistics Department's quarterly synopsis of the insurance market third quarter 2022. According to the reports, the industry recorded a total asset of about 2.3 trillion naira, indicating a 9% increase, while the industry balance sheet showed about 1.1 trillion naira in assets of non-life businesses, and the life business stood at about 1.2 trillion naira. The report noted that the industry's gross premium income in the third quarter of 2022 stood at 532.7 billion naira, while the net claims paid stood at about 207.2 billion naira, signifying 85.4% of all gross claims reported during the period. Elsewhere, U.S. industrial giant 3M on Tuesday announced that it will phase out the production of forever chemical polyfluoroalkyl substances in light of tightening regulations connected to harmful health effects from their use. 3M will exit the substances manufacturing by the end of 2025 and discontinue use across its product portfolio on the same time frame. The move are expected to result in pre-tax cost of $1.3 to $2.3 billion. Substances are made from chemical produced since the 1940s and are now widely present in soil and water, as well as in humans, fish, and other wildlife. They are known for the lengthy amount of time required before they break down. Still to come in the news, Cristiano Ronaldo having a hard time after Messi wins World Cup. Stay with us.
The only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Nkama has lamented the acute shortage of doctors, nurses, and other health professionals in government hospitals across all levels due to the increasing immigration. The minister said this while speaking at the inauguration of bedded intensive care units, National Intensive Care Unit, Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, and Labor Ward at the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital. Nkama added that the Federal Ministry of Health and other government agents, including the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, were working to ensure that existing staff were replaced as soon as seamlessly as possible. Still in health, China within the week reported its first deaths from COVID-19 since loosening its hotline containment policy as hospitals and crematoriums struggle with an outbreak, which authorities say is impossible to track. The country is reportedly pressing ahead with unwinding years of its zero-COVID policy, with people in the megacity told that they can go to work if they are visibly ill. Reports say official case numbers are widely considered unreliable following the end of mandatory mass testing, while fears are mounting of a wave of infections in poor rural areas during the upcoming lunar year holidays. In sports, Portugal captain Cristiano Ronaldo is having a hard time accepting Argentina's World Cup glory and the lack of interest of top clubs in him. Reports say the 37-year-old is currently waiting in Dubai ahead of joining the Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr. Meanwhile, Al Nassr still expects Ronaldo to join them ahead of the new year. Meanwhile, Ronaldo is currently a free agent after his contract with Manchester United was turned up. Still in sports, visible future, Osimhen has been linked with a move away from Napoli with the likes of Chelsea, Manchester United and Real Madrid, reportedly listed among the suitors. With the winter transfer window due to open the stadium anytime soon. Elsewhere, an Italian court within the week handed down a suspended 18-month sentence on Tuesday to a football fan. Becalgia was reporting for local Toscana TV outside Emporio Scalo Castellani Stadium following the Serie match with Toscan rivals Fiorentina in November last year, when one of the fans streaming fast slapped her bottom. The footage went viral and cost restaurateur Andre Serrani was given 18 months in jail for sexual assault and suspended for 5 years. Meanwhile, Nigeria's 100 meters hurdles were according to World Athletics. The World Athletics ranked each athlete according to the point they amassed from their performances during the season, using the scoring tables of athletics. Recall that the 25-year-old hurdler had a fantastic year and became the first Nigerian world champion in an athletics event when she won the 2022 World Champ, followed up by a minute 6 seconds in the final. On our entertainment news, Afrobeat superstar David Adeleke, professionally known as Davido, within a week hinted at the release of a new album in March, and Aisha, the singer, hinted on Twitter at the release of a new album in March 2023. In a tweet, he included an emoji of a music track while asking his fans to anticipate his return. Finally, Burna Boy leads Asake, who comes in at number 2, and Keys Daniel, who is the 3rd most streamed artist. With the announcement, Burna Boy has now become the most streamed artist of 2022 on 3 of the major streaming platforms in Nigeria, in a feat that captures his successful 2022. Reports say in addition to dominating the streaming platforms, Burna Boy will be wrapping up 2022 with 2 Grammy nominations for World Album and Global Song of the Year. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe. You have been watching Spectrum News within the week. I am Rachel David White. Good afternoon.